An alarming amount of young people are buying deadly drugs on social media. Welcome to another episode of Jump Off Live. I'm yours truly, Jeff A. Smith, and I'm joined by JD and Johnny Dangerous. As you're watching the show, please be sure to like the video and subscribe to our channel. Also, you can check us out on Zingo TV channels 249 and 250. And if you're on the go, you can find us on your favorite podcast streaming app. So, this particular story comes to us from today.com. I'm going to go through some of the particulars in there. Very alarming stuff. It's titled One Pill Can Kill. That's the message from the DEA this morning, which is announcing a rare public safety alert. This is the first one since 2015, people, about the alarming amount of counterfeit pills containing lethal fentanyl, which is a synthetic opioid in the U.S. I'm sure a lot of you all have heard about this crazy drug. They're marketed as prescription drugs sold online or through social media, but they're actually fake, often containing powerful, deadly fentanyl, sometimes methamphetamine, says DEA Administrator Ann Milgram. Popular apps like social media, popular apps like Snapchat and TikTok, these social media apps, help to connect teens and young adults to drug dealers, noting social media companies are not doing enough to stop the problem. Social media companies know that their platforms are being used for this, and they need to understand that Americans are dying. It's happening every single day, DEA agent Milgram said, calling this a national crisis. And as we all know, this opioid crisis has been going on for quite some time now, and it just seems to be getting even worse. So far this year, the agency and its law enforcement partners have seized 9.5 million such fake pills with fake tablets containing fentanyl, making up the majority of that figure. And the percentage that are potentially deadly has never been higher. 2 out of 5 of those fentanyl pills contain deadly doses. That's a staggering percentage. It takes a minuscule amount of fentanyl to cause death. I'm sure a lot of you all have seen that. It's the equivalent of 2 or 3 grains of salt. It's really, really a minuscule amount. More than 93,000 people died of drug overdoses in the U.S. last year, which Milgram called a national crisis and an emergency. These predatory organizations use fentanyl because it's cheap and easy to transport and incredibly addictive and incredibly powerful. One part of this article that was, everything stood out to me, but something that really stood out. So apparently, fentanyl is 80 to 100 times stronger than morphine. And we all know what morphine does. The chemicals that are needed to make fentanyl actually come from mostly from China. Then they're shipped to Mexico, where they're mass produced in labs, which I didn't know about as well either. And this story really stuck out to me simply because I've known about this opioid crisis over the last couple of years. I've actually heard a lot of a rise in this. We know celebrities like DMX and Michael K. Williams who've been dying from accidental overdoses because they're buying a specific drug and thinking it's just that drug, but it's ended up being laced with fentanyl. I've also heard a lot of there's a rash of going on in New York of people lacing marijuana with fentanyl. So people think they ban just regular weed off the street and it's laced with fentanyl and people are dying from it. And of course, like I said in the article, kids are, becoming victims of it as well too. Um, yeah, it's crazy that this drug on the street like this and how it's killing people. I can't think of any other time in history, at least in since I've been born, where something has been so deadly so quick and causing this many deaths. Um, so yeah, I want to get you guys' initial thoughts on this news of it being sold, via Snapchat, TikTok, that type of thing.
I think that it's not shocking at all.
Yeah.
Everything is at your fingertips these days. Everything, whatever you want, whatever you need, whatever you don't need, whatever you don't want, it's all there.
Yeah.
Right at your fingertips, and you can get access to it if you want it. So when these situations, this is yet another reason that you have to be careful and aware of what your children are consuming when they're using their telephones or their tablets or whatever electronics that they're using. That's easier said than done. It's very easy to, to find these things, especially when they're being marketed towards kids. There's another article that I know we wanted to talk about in the future about how just this past week that Instagram tried to institute a app devoted towards kids, and the backlash on it was so strong that they were able to prevent it for now. Um, but yeah, just the availability of drugs via social media is something that I'm sure has been around, but it's definitely at the forefront right now, and it's scary. It's scary. Um, like I said, everything is there, and it's up to parents to be vigilant to make sure that their kids aren't consuming these types of things or having these things. I don't even know how to say it. Like you have to you have to be vigilant. You have to be aware. You have to have conversations with your kid so that they know that even though this is there, you don't need to have access to it. And the fact that fentanyl is so strong and so deadly, I mean, it's a horrible combination. Isn't that what Michael Jackson overdosed on too?
No, he was on propofol.
Oh,
Propofol.
okay,
Yeah.
propofol. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a bad situation, and I don't know how to make it. I don't know how to make it better. It's like this is one of those things where technology is untapped, and there isn't any control over it. And you want these freedoms, and you want to be able to look at what you want to look at on the internet and do what you want to do, but these are the costs, and you have to be willing and ready to accept the costs of that freedom of being able to get on the internet and look at what you want to look at. I mean, people don't want to go the route of China where everything is censored, but I'd be shocked that they've had this issue there.
And it's funny because the chemicals come from China, but
Right.
that's a deeper, darker criminal link.
Deep.
That rabbit hole goes deep, doesn't it?
Yeah.
In the great words of Mr. Mackey of South Park, drugs and bad, okay? Drugs are bad. Man, I can remember coming up as a child seeing DARE officers all the time. Was it drug abuse resistance education?
Something like that.
Yeah. I remember them when I was a kid, and they had the case filled with drugs and whatnot, and talk about educate us on the different drugs. For some of the kids, they was like, "Oh man, that sounds kind of cool. I got to get some of that." But for cats like me, I'm like, "Man, okay, I like this DARE program. I like the dog that they use in the program. I'm not going to touch those drugs, you know." But I know that program still exists, but to me, it seems like it's kind of faded away. And not only that, let's talk about social media. JD talked about it a little bit earlier, but today I was watching the news, and they were talking about how social media manipulates people by using their information. Actually, I think Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, and some other big social leaders were on trial for the manipulation and the tactics they were using to put people's information out there and get for profit, and how our privacy as users was being manipulated and used, and how we're being exposed. Now we're talking about exposure to not only adults but children. They are so impressionable. They are so impressionable. There was another article I was reading right now. Teachers are going through hell from this slap a teacher challenge that's going on.
TikTok challenges
and devious licks. The devious licks challenge is another one.
Really?
What's that one?
Devious licks is you have to basically go into a bathroom and you mess it up, man. At the school, you tear everything off the wall. They're tearing up toilets and everything.
Yeah,
and you just mess it. You mess it up. You wreak havoc.
It's absolutely crazy. I know we've been out of high school for a while now, but man, it just, even back then I couldn't imagine myself doing those things. And it all comes back to our current subject. Are these kids using fentanyl? You got to be on something to smack a teacher in the head to follow this challenge, man. It's crazy that
the correlation.
Yeah, man. I just had to bring it around to that, man. It just seems crazy. I also watched another video of a police officer who was responding to a medical emergency, and he got a whiff, a salt-like grain, like you guys mentioned, of fentanyl, and he immediately dropped. He talked about this afterwards. He said he could not breathe at all, and there was another officer that was holding him until the paramedics arrived, and they were able to, get him back breathing again and get him down off that fentanyl. Just a little. So, I mean, he wasn't even trying to use it. He was just in the area of it. That's how strong that drug is. You were talking about that earlier, Jeff. Man, it's really it caused me a lot of anguish to see that children are being impacted in this way. And something like social media, which originally was intended for to be something good, to create a pastime that everybody could use, and focus in on things that they enjoy, that they like, that interest them, and to be able to share that with the rest of the world. Now you got all these people that are taking advantage of that opportunity by selling drugs. And they're selling bad drugs. They're not even selling good drugs. They're selling bad drugs, and it's going out to the children, man. For me, as a spiritual person, it just, it's a reminder to continue to stay prayed up. And I impress upon you all, that believe as well, to continue to pray for these children. And like the gentleman spoke earlier, we have to educate our children. We have to keep them safe as best as we can. As parents, it's our responsibility to do that. And so with that, I'll turn it back over to you guys.
Yeah, well said, John. And I agree. I mean, we're all parents here, and it's interesting because I feel like with my daughter, I'm going to have to, I have to continue to educate her on a wider variety of things that my parents had to educate me on. Like, for example, drugs. Like, there's so many different types of drugs that are available and that are considered popular nowadays, that it's not just, talking about cigarettes and alcohol and weed. You know what I'm saying? Like, back when we were growing up, it was like, okay, don't, it's cigarettes, alcohol, and weed, and don't be a crackhead.
Don't be
type of thing. You know what I'm saying? That's like, don't go that route. You know what I'm saying? Don't do this, but definitely don't do that type of thing. But now it's like it's literally life or death, plain and simple. And that's part of the message that I educate my daughter with. Like, you can make one mistake by taking something like this and literally die from it. So there's no room for error with recreational drug use nowadays. Whereas I'm sure there's tons of people out there who've used different types of recreational drugs for years and years and years. But now it's getting to a point where there's no room for error. You can actually get a bad batch of something and die from it immediately.
It'll wreck your creation.
Yeah, exactly.
These kids can't even be around that, Jeff. Like, they can't be around somebody that has fentanyl. It's just that strong. Yeah. So let this just be a PSA to everybody out there, just to continue to keep a close eye on your loved ones and the folks that you have impression upon and impression over. Educate them and stay vigilant about protecting those loved ones that you have around you, because it's a crazy epidemic going on out there, and we have to do what we can to combat it and get these amount of deaths down. So
yeah, and I know we're talking about kids, but I mean, for adults too, you just can't risk it. You can't risk it. I can't think of the young black comedian that passed away. He was doing, I feel so bad for forgetting his name.
I know you're talking about,
yeah, he was doing drugs with a few other people, and one of the I think two people died, and then there was also a lady who overdosed, but she was able to pull through. But he was doing it, and it had fentanyl in it, and boom, just gone.
Fuquan Johnson.
There you go. Yeah. Thought they were just doing coke, and it had fentanyl laced in it, and took two of them out completely and put another one in the hospital where they weren't sure if she was going to survive, but she was able to survive. So it's a terrifying situation. It's even more reason not to do drugs. More reason.
I agree.
That's how you solve that problem.
Yeah,
I don't have to worry about that.
Yep.
Unless they got some in my water or something that I don't know about.
That's next. Hopefully not. Just joking. All right, we'll go ahead and get on up out of here. Remember to check us out Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We dropping fire for y'all all throughout the week here on Jump Off Live on YouTube.
8 p.m. Central.
Yeah, 8 p.m. Central. Always be sure to like and subscribe, and we will see you all next time.
Drugs
Peace and love.
are bad. Okay? Drugs are bad.